Join me as I dive into a simulation of the 2024 Middle East conflict between Iran and Israel and see if I can predict who comes out on top. The Iran-Israel rivalry is one of the most volatile and complex in modern geopolitics. With the Middle East already a powder keg of tensions, the possibility of a conflict between these two nations is a scenario that keeps diplomats and strategists up at night. In this video, we're going to simulate a potential 2024 conflict between Iran and Israel, exploring the possible outcomes and implications for the region. Tensions between Iran and Israel have been escalating for years, with both sides engaging in a war of words and proxy conflicts across the region. The stakes are high, with the potential for a conflict to draw in major world powers and destabilize the entire region. One of the key flashpoints is the Iran nuclear program, which Israel sees as an existential threat. Israel has already launched several covert operations to disrupt the program, and it's only a matter of time before Iran retaliates. The situation is further complicated by the involvement of other regional players, such as Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Both countries have their own agendas and interests in the region and could potentially be drawn into a conflict. The US is also a key player, with a long history of involvement in the Middle East. If a conflict were to break out, it's likely that the US would be pulled in, potentially leading to a wider global conflict. The implications of a conflict between Iran and Israel are dire. The region is already experiencing unprecedented levels of instability, and a war could lead to a massive humanitarian crisis. The global economy would also be severely impacted, with trade and oil prices likely to skyrocket. In short, the stakes could not be higher. To understand the current situation, it's essential to delve into the historical context of the Iran-Israel conflict. The two countries have been sworn enemies since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, with Iran vowing to destroy the Jewish state. Israel, on the other hand, sees Iran as a threat to its very existence. Over the years, the conflict has played out through a series of proxy wars and covert operations, with both sides employing unconventional tactics. The Iran-Israel conflict is also deeply ideological, with Iran's Shia Islamist regime pitted against Israel's secular democracy. The conflict is often framed as a struggle for regional dominance, with both sides seeking to impose their own vision on the Middle East. This ideological dimension has led to a series of high-stakes confrontations, including the 2006 Lebanon War and the Stuxnet cyber attack. In recent years, the conflict has taken on a new dimension, with the rise of Iran's Shia militia proxies in Syria and Iraq. These groups have been instrumental in fighting against ISIS, but have also been used as a tool of Iranian influence in the region. Israel sees these proxies as a direct threat and has launched a series of airstrikes against Iranian targets in Syria. Israel's military strategy is centered around the concept of deterrence, where the country seeks to deter its enemies through a show of military force. This has led to a series of high-profile military operations, including the 2007 bombing of a Syrian nuclear reactor. Iran, on the other hand, has adopted a more asymmetric approach, using proxies and cyber warfare to attack Israeli targets. Now, let's move on to the simulation results. After running multiple scenarios, it's clear that the outcome of a conflict between Iran and Israel would depend on a range of factors, including the level of international involvement and the effectiveness of each side's military strategy. In one scenario, Israel's superior military technology and air power allowed it to gain the upper hand, with Iran's economy and infrastructure taking a heavy hit. In another scenario, Iran's proxy forces were able to inflict significant damage on Israeli targets, including several major cities. However, Israel's military was ultimately able to adapt and respond, leading to a decisive victory. In the most alarming scenario, the conflict escalated into a full-blown regional war, with multiple countries drawn in and the global economy severely impacted. The results of the simulation are clear. A conflict between Iran and Israel would be devastating for the region and the world at large. The stakes are too high and the potential consequences too severe. for us to ignore the warning signs. Both countries need to take a step back and engage in a serious dialogue, one that addresses the legitimate concerns and fears of both sides. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to check out our video on the potential impacts of regional conflicts. And don't forget to leave your opinions on the simulation results in the comments below.